All right. Good day, everyone. Well, good morning where Cam is. Good evening to the viewers of Sports for All. Today, or again, tonight and today where Cam is. Tonight, we have our guest. Our guest is all the way from Texas in the United States. And he's Cam, I read it um, in Wikipedia says you're a four-time U.S. amateur boxing champion. And then I read in another article you're a six-time amateur boxing champion. So anyway, he's a many-time amateur boxing champion and a four-time Golden Gloves champion, Cam F. Awesome. So thank you for joining us, Cam.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, I kept like I do article. I'll do an interview, and like 2012, and it's like a real big interview, and it says like I've won 3 championships, and then I've won more, but I didn't do any big interviews. So like, but I believe it's 7.
Okay, impressive.
Yeah.
And Cam, I'd like you to meet my colleagues, Brian here and Rika, who is a professional boxer here in the Philippines.
Hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
all right,
right.
what weight?
Well, weight minimum weight 105.
105? Oh, the opposite.
The opposite, exactly.
That's why no one messes with her.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, Cam, let's get right to it. My first question is, well, I saw your story on the Netflix documentary Counterpunch, which was a few years ago, and I immediately got in touch with you through social media, and fortunately, you said yes. So again, thank you for joining us. And my question is, your dad is from Trinidad and Tobago, and after coming up short in the Olympic trials, what happened with the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic boxing team?
Oh, I won the Olympic trials for the USA in 2012 and in 2016, but I decided not to fight for USA in 2020. I decided to fight for my father's home country, Trinidad and Tobago. I grew up eating the food. I grew up with the culture in America, but I've never been there. And I thought it would be cool to be able to represent my dad's country. So I got to fly there to fight in their Olympic trials. I flew there a couple times to train with the team. And I was actually in Texas training last year when I found out that the Olympics were going to be postponed. And since then, they have canceled the tournament in Argentina and decided to choose the ranking points. So I didn't get a chance to fight to qualify for the Tokyo Games because my ranking points, any ranking points I have, if I did have any left, would be for the US and not for Trinidad and Tobago. So I lost out.
Okay, well, when one opportunity closes, another one will open, right?
Word.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm sure you've been asked this a countless number of times already, but you're 32, and that's still fairly young. To if you decide to go pro now, that's that's still doable. So why don't you want to turn pro?
Oh, I just, it was never, I never wanted to become a boxer when I grew up. I want to do the Olympic thing, and I enjoy the workout. I enjoy the discipline it takes. But boxing has never been the primary thing that I do. Like I've always been drawn to speaking, and I'm a professional speaker. I speak to youth, and I've always done that. But the other thing I've been doing while I'm doing comedy or while I'm emceeing events or while I'm speaking at schools is I'm also boxing. And to me, it's something else that I do. It's not the primary thing. And I believe if you're going to be good at something, you have to give it your all and you have to give it 100%. So if I were to decide to make this into a profession and I were to become a professional fighter, there's no more comedy. There's no emceeing events. There's no more doing a random podcast at the last minute. Why? Because I'd have to be completely focused on boxing. And I don't feel like doing that. And I believe if you're not going to do something 100%, don't do it. So I'm a living testament of that. So
When did you start doing stand-up?
back in 2012, but I don't do it so much anymore. The pandemic happened, and my attention has been drawn more to professional speaking.
And then you went vegan because you lost a bet.
Yeah. I had to do it for 28 days. I was Manny Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley. It was June 11th, 2012. And I remember the day. I picked, who do you think I picked? I picked who everyone picked. And I picked who won.
We'll tell Manny. We'll make sure it gets to him.
Yeah, let him know. And I picked who won the fight, if you ask my opinion. But I'm a man of my word, so I did it for the 28 days. And the bet also entails sobriety. So the diet, you couldn't drink alcohol. So there's no drinking alcohol. There was no eating fast food. There's no McDonald's. There's no burgers. There was no French. There's none of that. So I felt so good after the 28 days. I'd never eaten clean before. In my head, I thought if I want to look good, I just work out harder. So even though I looked good, my insides were terrible, but I didn't know any better. And once I began starting to eat healthy, I realized the difference in my body. And then I even started to look better, and I was about 277 pounds at my highest, and I dropped down to 191. And I changed weight classes. That's why I changed weight class, and I started to fight at heavyweight instead of super.
And thanks to Manny, you blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah, thank you, Manny.
All right, Rika.
Yes, well, actually, I'm curious because you changed your name to Cam F. Awesome, right? But
Yeah.
if you will, I want to know, what was Lenroy Thompson like?
So Lenroy Thompson, that's a great question.
Right?
That is a great question.
I want to know. I want to get to know him first.
Yeah. So Lenroy Thompson was a very insecure person. I dealt with bullying, but I also dealt with anxiety. So to me, like being in crowded rooms or being around too many people, I shut down and I was quiet. And I found boxing and I realized, oh, I don't have to talk to anyone. Like I'm good through interviews, I'm good on a stage, but in groups of people, I don't really feel comfortable. So I was like, I can shine in a boxing ring and I can be disciplined and I can train. And I realized I was one person in the ring and someone else outside of the ring. And the more time I spent in the gym, the more I became Cam and the less I became Lenroy. And through that confidence, I became a whole nother person. And when I got suspended and kicked off the Olympic team in 2012, I was very depressed, and the last bit of Lenroy Thompson remained. And I killed him off symbolically. And that's when Cam F. Awesome was born.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And how was that rebirth like? What surprised you the most when you became Cam F. Awesome?
What surprised me the most was how well the people who knew me accepted me for the changed person that I was. Because, a lot of times you want to, and no one wants to admit it, but sometimes we want to change things about ourselves, or we might want to change our hair or do something, but then we're like, oh, people are going to laugh, or people are like, oh, what are you trying to do now? And we have that hesitancy to change and be who we want to be. And I took that risk, and I did it very flamboyantly and openly to the world. And I changed my last name and I threw a party. But when you think about it, changing your last name to Awesome could come off very cocky, and you can come off like a douchebag. And I I took that chance because to me, it's a positive affirmation. I want to remind myself that I am awesome. I think I'm awesome. I think that I'm strong. I believe that we are all great people. And I think that we look for self-confidence outside of ourselves. And I found that if I just name myself a positive affirmation, I can never forget how great
That's great. And also, I actually read that you said somewhere that you were the Taylor Swift of boxing.
I
I want to know more about that.
am.
What were you thinking at the time?
So to be honest, when I first started boxing, like the first time I won nationals in 2008, like you have to write a list of all of your goals, like, and they published it on the website. And this is 2008, so to get on a website was a big deal. So all of these boxers are like, I want to win the WBC belt, or I want to be the undisputed. And mine was, I want to have a TV show, because boxing has never really been my goal. To me, I love doing it. It's entertaining, and I like to have fun. And I think it's a sport, and why not be entertaining? Like if you score a touchdown in football or soccer, you score a goal, and you should dance, you should celebrate, you should have a good time because it's entertainment. So what I do is anytime I do an interview, I answer whatever questions I feel like. I just say whatever random stuff comes to my head, because it doesn't really matter. People pretend that sports are like this. Like, yes, it motivates us, it gives us community, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment. So I'm not going to sit down and do like a really serious interview where I'm answering these hardball questions about, like, I'm still sweating from fighting. How like, what do you want me to tell you, lady? But she was very great about it. I do that type of stuff all the time. Some people don't think it's funny at all. I'm glad it went over well that time.
It did, and it actually kind of stuck, because if you Google your name, there's a lot of articles that come out from that from that interview. So Taylor
Yeah.
Swift, that was just random. You don't have a favorite Taylor Swift song, do you?
No, not really. I say random stuff, and that was the name that popped up in my head. I actually, before I said it, I didn't. If Taylor Swift were to walk right by me at Walmart, I wouldn't have known who she was at the time. It was just like, it was a pop reference name that was at the top of my head. But it
Could have
turned
been
out
anyone.
well.
Yeah, could have been
Yeah.
anybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of entertainment, you said that boxing was like entertainment for you, right? And you have this very unique, very entertaining style, but very effective, nevertheless, inside the ring. I mean, you knock your opponents out. You have a very, very impressive record. How did you develop that kind of style?
So when I said I didn't get into boxing to become a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came to the gym, I was just like, hey, I was like 16, 17 years old. I was like, I just want to hit the bag and jump rope. I don't want to punch anyone. I don't want to be punched. So, when those guys come in the gym, the coach doesn't care about them really. Like, you're not going to teach that guy fundamentals or the jab, because it's just a kid. He might be in and out of the gym. But I would watch what other boxers did, because I wanted to look like a boxer. So like, I would watch what boxers would do and I would emulate it. So if I would see a guy hit the bag, I would hit the bag like he hit the bag. So I noticed when guys got to the gym, they would jump rope first. A lot of them would jump rope. And I was like, okay, that builds a sweat. That's why you do that. They shadow box. It's like, that's like stretching for the muscles that you actually need. Then you hit the bag and you spar. So when you hit the bag, I would see guys hit the bag where like the bag is, instead of punching eye level, they punch like to chest level on the bag. And I realized, I'm like, they're doing that because they're lazy. Because it's more tiring to hit. So what I did was, every time I hit the bag, I walked up to the bag, I touched my face on it, and the sweat mark is the level I punch. So that's like something I taught myself. And I was like, that's how I learned boxing, through rational ideas. So I would see things that other people did and I would question it. And one of those things, and remember, tradition stunts growth. So we do a lot of things because we saw other people do it, but we've never questioned, why do we do these things? So I would see people hit the speed bag.
Mhm.
And I asked myself, I wonder what's that? What's that for? But I didn't, to be honest, I was very shy. So I was afraid to ask. And so I saw people hit it and I learned to hit it, but then I want to question it because I question things. And I asked the coach one day, I was like, hey, why do we hit this? And he's like, hand-eye coordination. And actually, and I would ask you guys, why do you hit the speed bag?
You asked me?
Yeah, like why do you hit the speed bag?
Same thing. It's hand-eye coordination and your reaction to it. Like, we usually have that like speed bag that's tied, right? Rather than the
Yeah.
one. So that's more like
Oh.
my reaction.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Mhm.
this bag, this is the one everyone hits in the gym over.
You know what? I can't reach that. So I never really tried that. So I just
Let
tried
me
the
tell
one.
you,
Yeah.
that was the answer I did not expect.
I'm 5 feet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, minimum weight. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. But you didn't miss anything. You're not missing anything because I asked the coach, I was like, why do you hit this? He said hand-eye coordination. And I said, can you hit it? He says, yeah. I was like, are you good at hitting it? He's like, yeah. I was like, can you hit it with your eyes closed? He's like, yeah. I was like, prove it. And he closed his eyes and he did it. And then I asked him with his eyes closed, I said, if your eyes are closed and you're doing it, how is it hand-eye coordination?
Makes sense, yeah.
There's no reason to hit the bag like that. You're not even standing in your boxing form. You're not even standing in a boxing stance. You don't throw punches like this. And for the people who say, oh, it works your shoulder strength,
Mhm.
that's an inefficient workout. Why don't you stop making noise in the gym and let me listen to my music? That's why I don't like this feedback. Now, these are different things I would see in the boxing gym. Now, being the largest boxer, there was no one for me to spar. I like sparring more than anything else because it got me to move around. It was like running and hitting the bag at the same time. I felt like I got 2 workouts in at once. So I only sparred smaller guys and I wasn't allowed to punch them. So I just developed the ability to hit lightly, like touch guys lightly and pull back. And I gained those reflexes from literally, I would go to the gym and I would spar 10 to 15 rounds with smaller guys because if they hit me, it doesn't really mean anything. But my goal was, if you were 140 pounds, my goal was, I can't be faster than you, but I'm going to make my timing so much better than yours that I'm going to look like I'm faster than you. And it didn't work. It didn't work. I was never faster than the guys who were 140. Sometimes I would get exchanges, but I realized when I started sparring heavier guys or guys my weight, it was like a walk in the park. So I decided I fought at super heavyweight at about 205 pounds. I was fighting guys 260. And I was like, the way I did this was back in the day, the scoring system, if I hit you, I got a point. If you hit me, you got a point. So in my head, all I had to do was hit you once and run for 2 minutes and 59 seconds. They tell you you have to be in the ring for 3 minutes. No one says what you have to do for the 3 minutes. So my goal was the first round, I run like crazy. And guys will chase me and I move around a lot and I do it purposely. Why? Because it doesn't matter. I'm just running the clock out and I'm getting you tired because you're not used to doing this and you're chasing me all around and you're throwing big punches and you throw a big punch and I pull back and I just touch you, just like I would do the 140-pound fighters. So touch. Now the score is 1-0. The bell rung. We're going into the second round and the score is 1-0. I'm not tired. I spar 15 rounds every day. I don't really hit the bag. All I do is spar. So that guy, his coach is telling him, get out there, kill him. You gotta get 3 points. And I know he's coming. So I'm just gonna run my ass off for the first minute of the round. And as soon as he's tired and he throws a wild punch, bop, 2-0. Now he's desperate. And I'm not hurting him. I'm annoying him. And the thing is, to most people, it's not exciting and it looks goofy. And the idea is that it is supposed to be goofy. It's my whole strategy. And by the third round, you're tired from chasing me around like an idiot. And everything you do is ineffective. And you realize, well, at this point, I'm not hurt. You're not getting hurt. You're just getting tired and you're getting frustrated. And then you kind of give up. And that's when I start acting like I have all this power now. And I just start throwing heavier punches. And then I win, I do my thumbs up, and I leave.
That's amazing. Wow. That's an amazing evolution of your style. Thank you.
But
Okay.
some people don't find it exciting.
Well, it is. It is. Now that you break it down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian, you have a question?
Actually, I'm there's someone who wants me to ask a question. It's Coach Chris DeLeo. He's the basketball coach of Thailand. He saw the poster, so he wanted me to ask you this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait, let me start from. He just watched your show on Netflix that featured you. He wants me to ask you why you never went pro, spent your whole career at the amateur ranks, I believe. That's what he posted.
Like I said before, for me, I joined the gym to get rid of my anxiety and gain confidence. I wanted to lose weight. I just wanted to look like a boxer.
Okay.
That was, and this is what happened. I was in the gym all the time and I got in really good shape. I lost the weight. I was looking like a boxer. And one day they were like, "Hey, Cam, you're here a lot. Do you want to spar?" And I was like, "My mom's not going to let me spar." And everyone laughed. And I was like, "I'm just joking." And I was like, I'll buy a mouthpiece. And that's how I got pressured into sparring. So after I started sparring, I was like, "Oh, this is even a better workout." And I eventually fought with no interest of becoming a boxer. And I became #1 in the country, and I got to fly on a plane, which I never flew before. So I got to travel. So boxing to me was something I did on the side, and it allowed me to travel the world. I've been to over 30 countries and I have all these experiences. So to me, boxing was an avenue for me to see the world and have a good time. And chase my passion and display the discipline that I have as a boxer, but it wasn't to become a great boxer. I just kind of wanted stamps in my passport.
All right. Okay. Now for my question. Okay. I couldn't help but I'm picking up from what Rika said. You said your style was like that, and the first fighter that came to mind is Floyd Mayweather Jr. I mean, does that explain his fighting style, you think?
Yeah. If it was like, if my style was like cleaner, more polished, it would be his. But yeah, I would be honored to compare our styles, but he is definitely a master at what he does.
Okay. Because I don't know, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And my
Yeah,
next,
yeah,
go ahead.
he's very hit and don't get hit, and I'm the same way. Like my #1 priority is not to hit you. I don't really care about hitting you. Hitting you is a byproduct of what I do. I'll eventually hit you. There's no rush. I have 9 minutes to do it most times. I don't want to get hit. So that was my only focus. Going into the ring, I'm like, okay, how can I make sure this guy doesn't hit me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you said, it's the mental thing, the mental part of boxing, right? That's what got into my mind. Okay, so I'm gonna ask another question. You said earlier you placed a bet with Manny Pacquiao and Timothy Brad, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm curious. Who did you side with when Manny Pacquiao faced Floyd Mayweather?
Okay.
I think I know
Here's
the
the
answer.
That I want to know.
Here's the thing.
All right.
I have some biases. Okay. For one, as a southpaw, anytime two people are fighting, in my head, I usually go for the southpaw.
All right.
Right? On top of that, I love the fact that Manny Pacquiao he's not really a boxer. Like he does all these different things, boxing is just one of the things that he does. And as a person who views myself the same way, oh, that's why he's one of my favorite fighters, is because fighting is not the main thing he does. That's why I love him.
Okay.
Now, Mayweather, the only thing he does is boxing.
Okay.
And I also admire that quality. So I watched the fight. I was actually doing a comedy show in like a small town in front of like, I was doing a comedy show in front of like 8 people in like a small town in Nebraska. And I was watching the phone. Someone had their phone and had their phone recorded on an iPad. And I'm watching my phone, watching an iPad to watch the fight with no interest of who wins or loses. But I do think it was a great fight.
All right. So who did you side
Is that a
with?
good answer?
Safe answer. Safe answer.
Anyway, let's leave it at that. I'm content with the answer. All right, Vince.
To add or pick up from where Rika left off about Taylor Swift, I'm sure you'd rather be Tony Robbins of boxing rather than Taylor Swift, right?
Actually, I would still choose Taylor Swift over Tony Robbins for the simple fact that I like to do what I like to do, and sometimes that's not popular, and sometimes that goes against what popular belief would be. So like I understand. I'm very humble. Of course I name myself awesome, but for the most part, I'm a humble person. But for a second, I'll step outside of that and say, yes, if I turned pro, I'm pretty sure I would have a pretty good career. I would make money. I would do all of that. But it's not really. I don't want to just do that. And I decide like to do. I rather do the unexpected sometimes. And I think Taylor Swift's a little more unexpected than Tony Robbins.
I read in an article you were going around the country. You were practically living in your car. You were doing talking to kids about bullying. Among all your travels and all your conversations with kids, what's the best story you've heard about making an impact on their lives? Parents coming up to you and telling you made a difference or you made an impact. What's the best story, Cam?
So I've throughout my boxing, boxing is something I've always done. But as well as boxing, I've been speaking at school since 2008, 2009. And in 2016, I bought a van. I lived in my vehicle for 4 years, and I spoke at schools, and I spoke at schools during the week, and I emceed festivals on the weekends. And the pandemic stopped that, so I had to buy a house. But I did enjoy doing all that. But when the pandemic happened, I had to go virtual, and I changed my topic, and I started to speak because so much was going on in the world around race. And I realized that everyone is speaking in memes and they're speaking on social media, but they're so angry with it. And a lot of the times we agree with the same thing, we just say it in different ways. And I believe that if we had more of a place to have these conversations, a safe place to have open talks about race, talk about culture, talk about our differences, the world will be a better place. So I decided to start speaking to educators. So I talked to teachers about race to help them communicate with their students better. And I realized, why are we only talking to adults about race? Why are we only talking to adults about culture? Are students of different races, do students have culture? Because when you think about it, a school it's in, at least here in the States, like one school will have like some houses from like, some people live in different areas, but one school will have like, will pull students from white areas and Asian areas and Black areas and Latino areas. And it's all these different cultures in one school building, but no one's allowed to talk about their culture. The only culture we're allowed to talk about is the white culture. That seems unfair. So I began to go into schools and I started virtually to talk to students about culture and how to respect other people's cultures and understand, like, just because someone does something differently, it doesn't mean they're bad or good. It just means that they do things different. And I started to speak about this, and I would speak about microaggressions. And a lot of students were dealing with microaggressions and they didn't have a word for it. And they were calling it bullying because they didn't understand a different term. And the fact that I was bringing this language to them for them to be able to express themselves and express their frustrations and how they felt when teachers would say just offensive things without understanding they were offensive. Like asking a student, like, hey, where are you from? And the student says, well, I'm from Texas. And they say, well, you don't look like you're from Texas. Where are you really from? What country are you from? And then, well, my parents are born here too. No, where were they born? And to the teacher, they're just curious, but to that student, that's offensive. And I was able to have these conversations with these students for the last 6 months. And that has been one of the most powerful things to be able to talk about.
You, correct me if I'm wrong, Cam, you were bullied when you were overweight. When you lost all the weight, and did you try confronting these people who used to bully you? Did you try to confront them, just to, converse and talk to them? Why? What made them do it?
No, I've never even considered doing that. What I did was when I graduated high school, I moved from New York to Florida, and I just didn't talk to anyone again. And I basically changed my name, became a whole different person, and just didn't deal with the past. I think you should always deal with the past. And I think that's what I'm working through emotionally right now in life, is like, what I did was I just like blacked out everything from 18 and younger, and I just think about 18 and up. But no, I actually never went back and confronted. And when I look back at it, it wasn't, to me, it was terrible bullying, but it was because I deal with anxiety. So it was even worse to me. So a student who was doing it probably didn't even realize what they were doing. And to me, I was so self-conscious that I would walk into a room and think everyone's looking at me, and if someone laughed, I'm like, oh, they're laughing at me. And maybe it wasn't even that bad. And I try to tell that to students, maybe, because I think in my mind, like, everyone's looking at me and they're worried, did I wear this shirt 3 days ago? And they're thinking about that. And now that I look back at it, if I were to go back to my class reunion, no one would even remember who I am. So I try to tell these students, like, don't be so cocky to think that everyone's looking at you and everyone's paying attention to you, because really, maybe no one cares, and it's all in your head, and you're the person who's ruining your own self-confidence.
Let's go to your being vegan. Curious question is, being vegan, where do you get the energy? Where do you get your energy? Um,
That's a common question. So here's the way I explain it. Normal people who, like meat eaters, they get their energy from animals, right? Animals get their energy from plants. So instead of eating the animal, I just skipped over that and I just eat the plants, because we talk about, like, let's be strong like an ox, or we talk about being strong like animals. Animals are strong because they eat the grass. But for some reason, we think we'll become strong if we eat the thing that's strong. Why don't we eat the thing that the strong thing is eating? Yeah, I've been vegan for about 10 years, 9 years now. And I'm not adverse to death. I'm not adverse to death. Like, everyone dies, animals die, I get that. What I'm opposed to is factory farming. And I believe I'm not averse to death, I'm averse to torture. And I believe factory farming is torture. So I don't support that. Like, if you want to hunt, I can't stop. First of all, I can't stop you from doing anything. But I believe if you want to hunt, go out, hunt. I believe that's more humane. If there is such thing as humane meat, I can't tell you what to do. But to me, I am so against factory farming that I am against meat, and I'm against animal products to show. Because if I say I'm against factory farming, but I could afford to eat grass-fed steak or whatever that is, then people will say, oh, well, you can eat that because you can afford that. No, you don't need to eat meat. And I want to show people and be living proof that you don't need to eat meat. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to eat meat. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just have such a strong stance against factory farming where those animals are tortured. I can't sleep at night knowing that I'm contributing to that. I don't judge anyone for doing that. There are so many problems in the world. I wear sneakers that were probably made in a factory. Like, I understand that we can't be perfect in everything we do, but I believe that everyone should just pick a few things in life that you believe that you can make a significant difference and pursue those things.
Would you, are you officially retired from amateur boxing, Cam, or what's the status on you?
I'm not officially like, I'll probably win nationals again, probably in a few years, just to remind people that I can. I do think I'm realizing the mentality that we were told as children, because we had different access to health and science. We thought, like, by the time you're 25, you're kind of getting older and you're over the hill. I'm 32. I'm right now, I'm about 200 pounds. I'm below my fighting weight. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm just not real interested in boxing right now, because I'm more drawn on talking about race, culture, and making a difference in the way that I can. But I will still pop up in 3 or 4 years and win nationals, just to remind people that I can, because it's all mental.
Would you do an exhibition fight? I mean, a one-time thing, Cam, an exhibition boxing bout.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd do that. I love boxing. It's something that I do. It's something that I've always done. It's just no one cared before. So like I've always boxed, but I've done speaking. I've done other things. It's just that no one has cared about the speaking and the other things before. And now that I'm doing more of the speaking and the other things and less of boxing, people are like, "You're not doing the boxing thing anymore?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of." It's boxing has changed my life in so many ways, and it has taught me so much that I'm building a speaking business, and that takes a lot of work, right? And building a business is hard work, but not compared to training for the Olympics. Like, nothing seems that hard. So I'm so grateful for for what boxing has taught me, the discipline, the idea of hard work, and it has given me the tools to go to become successful in other places in life. But sometimes when boxing has given me the tools to go other places, I have to take those tools and leave boxing to use them.
You've talked about bullying for quite a long time already. Have you ever considered teaching kids boxing to defend themselves against bullies?
Yeah, actually, at the end of every speech I give all around the country, I give the address. So there's in the States, there are a lot of free boxing gyms in inner city areas for people who can't afford them. And these are the schools I go to, and I speak at these schools, and then I give them, the students, the address, the gym, and I tell them the hours of the gym. And because I was living in New York for 18 years, and not until I was 16 years old did I realize there was a boxing gym 3 miles away from my house. So I'm there to tell kids like, hey, I was overweight, I was bullied, I was this, and then I started boxing, and it made me a more confident person and allowed me to do anything I wanted to do in life. If you're struggling with confidence, here's the address. This is the hours to this gym. You don't have to become a boxer. Let boxing be something you do on the side that helps you have discipline. So yeah, I tell kids at the end of every speech, if they want to follow my path, what they need to do is they need to go to the boxing gym, or not even boxing, choose something to have a skill. I don't care what it can be, baking, it can be massage therapy, it can be what, cooking, it could be coding, whatever it is. If you have a skill at something and you can see that you're getting better at it, whether it makes you money or not, if you can see that you're developing a skill, you'll wake up in the morning like, actually, I'm good at something. I'm worth it. And you become more confident as a person. And then when a challenge is placed in front of you, you're like, well, this morning I told myself, I'm a good person. I can rise to a challenge. Here's a challenge in front of me. And then you face that challenge because you have the confidence of doing something and getting better at something. So get into the gym. And as you get better at boxing, you'll start to lose weight. If you need to lose weight, because that was my problem. And as I was working out, I was losing weight. And I would wake up in the morning and say, hey, look, you're doing something with your life. And I was more confident. So I try to tell students, yes, go to the boxing gym. If it's not boxing, it's wrestling, it's judo, it's BJJ, it's whatever you want to do to become better. Find something.
All right, Rika.
Yeah. For me, you are a motivational speaker, and I saw some of your topics. One of them is cultural competence, and another is diversity. How important are these topics for you and your personal story? And how much of your personal story do you bring in when you talk about these things?
I talk a lot about my story. So I share that my dad's from Trinidad and Tobago, and I grew up in basically a Jamaican household, Jamaican Trini household, and the food we ate was curry and jerk and when I would go to school, I would be ashamed because I didn't want because the kids at my school, they ate hamburgers and macaroni and cheese, and I didn't want them to know that like my parents ate chicken foot and things like that because my friends would have thought that was gross. So I was always ashamed of my culture, and all I wanted to do was be American because like I was born in America, but everyone in my house, they weren't from America. So I tried to hide my culture and suppress my culture. And I tried to be American. I want to be African American. I want to be Black. I want to listen to music. I want to listen to rap music. I want to listen to Jay-Z. I didn't want to listen to Bob Marley. But in my house, we listened to Bob Marley. But when I got to school, I pretended like I listened to Jay-Z. And I didn't talk about the food we ate or the culture, none of that. So what I do is I talk to students to embrace their culture, to share their culture, to talk about it, and also let the other students in the school know about their culture. Like, hey, maybe I wear a hijab for this reason. This is why I do this. This is why you should respect me because of it. And I think if there was more of those conversations in the school that I went to, I wouldn't have been in the situation that I was in.
Yeah, I think so too, because there's a lot of othering in schools, right? Especially in the US. If you're not,
oh yes,
if you don't follow if you don't follow what's in the popular culture or what's American, then you're the other, right?
yeah,
and it's hard.
you don't want to be the other.
You don't want to be the other. Yeah. That's amazing that you're sharing your story to help other kids feel that, well, it's okay to be different, right?
Yeah. And also now that I'm an adult, I'm just like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm just American. Oh, like, my mom is from England. Like I grew up with like the breakfast from England alone, and then like the food from Trinidad and the culture, the music, the steel pans, calypso, like all that to me now as an adult is beautiful and it should be celebrated. Yeah. But in America, they're like, oh, I don't see color. Like, no.
Yeah.
I want you to see my color. I want you to see who I am. I want you to respect my culture. I want you to respect my background. I want you to respect my heritage.
Yeah.
See color, celebrate it, respect it.
Yeah, that's true. Also, here's what's funny actually. it's quite popular nowadays to be different. So there's been some like emergence of people trying to find something ethnic or unique about them. Some people even pretend to be black, right?
Yeah.
You know that
I did.
story?
Yeah.
No, like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of race, there was a
Oh yeah,
white
yeah, yeah.
there was a white woman who actually pretended she was black.
Rachel Dozier.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Like that's the other side of the coin, right?
Yeah. Actually, the Rachel Dozier situation, to be honest, I learned about that through memes. So I don't know the background of the story at all.
Netflix,
She has a story on Netflix.
the racial
Oh,
divide.
the Rachel Divine. Okay, I'll check it out. But I actually I don't know much about that story, but I do know that I think there's a I think so many people have. I'll speak about here in the States. In the States, white culture dominates. So for me, I like a white person in America, they can wake up white, they can go to an all white restaurant, they can go to an all white gym, they can go to an all white masseuse, and then they can go to their all white neighborhood and live a whole successful life and never leave their white circle. But as a black person or person of color, I'm gonna have to be immersed into white culture because you go to restaurants, you go to shopping plazas, you go to the mall. Like I'm gonna have to be in white spaces a lot. And what you do is you have to assimilate. So in the States here, you're 4 times less likely to receive a call back for a job interview if you have a black sounding name than if you have a white sound. So if your name is Tyrone, you're not going to get a call back. But if your name is Steve, you'll get a call back. Now, what that does is parents, now what they have to do is they start to name their children white sounding names. And they have to throw away their culture and whitewash themselves just to fit in. And they have been doing this for years. It's having dual cultures, and you have to be one person in public and one person at home. And people have been doing this for so long that we don't even realize that they are something other than what they are. We think, like, for me, I was just trying to fit in. I was trying to be American. You try to go into the corporate world, you try to wear your suits, and like where I'm from, people don't wear suits. But in this corporate world, all these white people, they have success, they have money. This is the path I need to take. I need to wear a suit, and you start to assimilate. And now it's been like a cultural revolution of, no, screw that. I am me. I am beautiful. I am of my culture. You're going to see my flag. I'm going to be who I am. And that's surprising to a lot of people. And what's also surprising is you might say something and someone might say, hey, you've been saying this one phrase for a long time. Guess what? It's offensive. Don't say it anymore around me. And the person who's been saying the phrase, they get offended. They're like, the person who, like, so person A offended person B, right? Person B spoke up for themselves. And because they were offended. You know what person A does? Gets even more offended than person B. What do you mean I can't say that word anymore? How dare you? People are so sensitive. And now you're shaming someone for speaking up and having boundaries and respecting themselves. And I think now that people are actually having boundaries and respecting themselves, it is so surprising. Mm-hmm. And I love that it's happening, but even me too. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. And sometimes I disrespect someone, and when they tell me, the first thing I do is I apologize. I apologize for my actions. I don't explain my intent. I don't try to explain what I meant to do. Let me tell you why you shouldn't feel upset or feel offended, because this is what I meant to say. No.
Makes it worse, right?
It makes it worse. Oh, trying to explain makes it worse.
Like bad comedy, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also you talked about microaggressions, right? A lot of people say that these microaggressions, when they compound, then the person has a bigger tendency to resort to violence. That's what some people say.
Yeah.
But then some people say the best thing to do with that is teach them boxing or combat sports. Do you believe that? Do you believe that fight sports or combat sports is a great thing to sort of like channel these microaggressions into something healthier or something more productive?
I would say instead of putting it on the victim of the microaggression and saying, okay, you're dealing with this stress because of other people so much, this is what you need to do. How about we tell the people who are doing the offending that, hey, we can stop a lot of problems by you just educating yourself.
Yeah.
And and microaggressions aren't even the type of thing to where you want to fight. Like it's a thing where you're being just disrespect. Like, okay, Rika, as a female boxer, right? No, you're a boxer. Okay?
I get that a lot though.
So you're not just a female boxer, you're a boxer. And you should be respected as a boxer. So let's say you get to a boxing tournament and they have this beautiful dressing room for the men, and then the female boxers, they use the janitor's closet, or they have a small little closet because their dressing room should be just crappy because they're women. Like,
Yeah.
Rika, who do you fight? Like in that situation, when you're disrespected like that, who do you fight?
Yeah.
Who do you complain to? First of all, if you complain, why don't you just be grateful that we're even allowing you to fight as a woman? Okay,
Yeah.
you just need to be grateful,
Yeah.
because that's the way it comes off. So like now that you're disrespected,
Mhm.
you feel disrespected and you feel grateful at the same time. What a conflicting feeling.
Yeah.
And then you can't tell anyone
Yeah.
because you should be lucky. You should be lucky you even get a chance to fight. But really, if we want to be honest,
Mhm.
it should be 50-50.
Mhm.
And the reason why there are more male boxers than female boxers are there are more opportunities for male boxers. So like growing up, if you were to throw boxing gloves at little girls the way we throw boxing gloves at little boys, guess what? It would be 50-50. But we don't really push girls to go boxing. If anything, we tell them, oh no, you're too pretty for that. You don't need to box. So what we do is we start deterring girls from becoming fighters.
Yeah.
So if we actually want to talk about it, no, Rika, you should be grateful that you get that locker room, and you should be grateful that you be able to fight. It should be 50-50.
Mhm.
But until we talk about the root cause on how we're socializing our children, we're never going to have a solution. What we're going to have is we're going to keep telling Rikas to go to the boxing gym and just punch your frustration away and never fix the problems.
Mhm. Yeah, interesting you said that, because actually it's become so normalized that some females don't feel there's some inequality because it's become so normal. So
Yeah.
it's yeah.
There's I believe maybe they moved to 5, but I know it was last time there's 3 weight classes in 2016 Olympics for women. 3. There was 10 for the men. The woman only had 30% of the chance. And to me, I think that's not fair. If we want to talk about fair, and granted, it sounds weird coming from me because I don't really benefit from this at all. Like I don't benefit for speaking on behalf of female boxers, but what I want to do is I want to be that person who speaks on behalf of everyone. Not even speak on behalf of everyone, be an ally for everyone.
Mhm.
Because there are all these issues, but people only seem to speak about the issues that affect them directly. Now, I'm in a blessed position in life where I have my own issues, of course. And being a Black man in America, I have issues, but I'm in a situation where I can discuss more issues than my own. And I feel like that's where my calling is. And I'm more valued there as that person speaking up on behalf of other people and being an ally than I am punching someone else in a boxing ring.
Yeah, that's actually amazing that you mentioned that we can be allies. You don't necessarily have to be a woman to speak for women's rights or be Black to speak about Black rights, right? Because like when you do that, people tell you, well, you're not a woman. What business do you have? But you can be an ally. So is that something that you feel like you want to be doing for the rest of your life? Just making these hard
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, and I don't even think the thing is, everyone talks about these hard conversations. I have been having these conversations, and predominantly with white people in the States. I've been having these conversations about race with white people,
Yeah.
and there isn't one that I can remember that I left and it was a bad conversation. Like, everyone is so open to having these
Wow.
conversations. They just don't know where, and a lot of times there's some pushback. And then when someone realizes, oh, I'm not trying to change you, I'm just trying to tell you some things.
Mhm.
And I'm just trying to give you a different perspective. And a lot of times when I give someone that perspective, and I also, this part's most important, I see their perspective.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you need to see the things in through the Black person's eye in America. So I take the second to see things through someone else's
Mhm.
perspective. And then after they trust me, they're like, oh, he's willing to see my side. Then I explain my side of things and my perspective. And I don't believe that these are that hard of conversations. I believe it's scary
Mhm.
because a lot of times we want to have these uncomfortable conversations, but we're afraid to say the wrong thing. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's best just to not say anything at all. And I think I'm a person who, I don't know everything. Culture, I don't know about every culture in the world. There's some cultures that I might inadvertently disrespect or say something rude, but the only thing I can do is I can hope that someone would understand that my heart's in the right place and respectfully let me know so I
Mhm.
can change my actions in the future. Because what we've been doing as a society is when someone does something wrong, we stone them.
Yeah.
And we make an example out of them. So the only way that we can learn not to do X is after someone does X and they're crucified for it.
Mhm.
And then we're like, oh, okay, that person said that word and then they lost their job. Okay, that's how I know not to say that word anymore. Actually, I've said that word before. I'm gonna have to delete some posts. I didn't even know that was a bad word.
Yeah.
Like, so what I don't like that that's the way that the world works. What I want to do is accountability culture, is to where you say that word and I pull you aside and say, hey, Rika, we don't say that. This is why we don't say that. Just a heads up, just letting you know. And if I told you that, Rika, you wouldn't try to, you would understand.
Yeah.
And
I'm
especially
sorry.
if
Yeah, I'll say sorry.
you would apologize. And you would apologize but the thing is how I do it. Because let's say you said something offensive on social media. If I went into the comments, I'm like, Rika, you're a piece of shit. You're so stupid. I hate you, blah, blah, blah. Then at that point, you're gonna say, oh, that Cam guy, he's an idiot. He's so stupid. And you're just gonna block me.
Yeah.
Now I think you're a bad person. You think I'm a bad person. And you're still saying the same ignorant thing that you have been saying. Now, this is also on me because what I can do is instead of going into the comments, I can send you a DM.
Mhm.
Like, hey, Rika, heads up. You said this about the gay community, and it rubbed me the wrong way because this is how I felt about it. I just want to share that with you. I'm sure, Rika, I just met you, but I'm sure you're not a terrible person. Because anytime I've been in that situation where I've posted things and someone slid in my DMs and told me, and I was like, oh, delete. And I would go and delete the post because I don't care that much. I say things because I think it's funny. If I say something and you're like, that hurt my feelings, like, oh, I'll delete it. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was just trying to get a cheap laugh.
That's great. Thank you. Those are very great insights. Thanks. Vince?
All right.
Are your interviews usually more boxing, more boxing questions?
No, it's informal. Covers a lot of stuff, Cam. So we're all right. We're all right. But my question for you is back to boxing. Have you fought anyone who has a similar style that you employ?
there was a guy I sparred. Like I was in a training camp for a fight or something, and I was on fire. Like no one could touch me. I landing I felt like I was landing every punch I threw. No one could hit me. I was running through everyone in sparring, and then they called a guy up to spar me. They're like, okay, you think you're so good? Call this guy. And they called Tony Thompson. Do you guys remember Tony Thompson? He fought Klitschko
Was he
back
on
in the day.
Okay, I thought he was in the documentary.
No, he fought Klitschko back in the day.
Okay.
Great fighter, and his boxing style was similar to mine, to where he worked on the outside and he was real awkward, and his boxing IQ was so high. Like there's nothing I could do to this man, and it wasn't because I respected him in any way, because I didn't, and I don't. It's just he is just good. There's nothing to be said about it. And he did a lot of the awkward things that I was doing. And I got to see it from the other side for the first time. And it was so frustrating.
Well, let me give you a scenario. For example, you're fighting someone who has the exact same style as you, and what's at stake is a place in the Olympics, in the US Olympic boxing team. And you only found out about his style on the day of the fight itself. What would you do?
First thing I would do is realize it has nothing to do with the fight. I find out who my opponent is. I go talk to him. Because boxing is a very mental, psychological game. You're not expecting me to talk to you if I just found out you exist. And I want to talk to you, and I want to find out what's near and dear about you. And I want to know where you grew up, and I want to know who raised you? Your grandma raised you? Tell me about your grandma. Oh, she raised you with your grandkids. Oh, something happened to you. Oh, what happened to your mom? Oh, your mom moved away. Oh, okay. Oh, my mom was an immigrant as well. So where do you train? And then I walk away, and then before the fight, he has his headphones on. He's listening to his music. You know, his gloves are on, so he has his playlist going. And his coach is doing the mitts. And then his ring song goes on. He takes his headphones off. He's walking towards the ring. He gets a tap on his shoulder. Who is it? It's your opponent. Hey, it's Cam. Before you get to the ring, I just wanted to tell you good luck. Have a good fight tonight. Fight for your grandmother. I know she's amazing to you. And I reach in and I give him a hug. Now, I know he doesn't want to hug me. I know that I'm ruining his ring walk. I know that his grandmother's the last thing he wants to be thinking about right now. And he doesn't want to hug me, but everyone is there and everyone is looking. And sportsmanship is important, because you're also judged on ring generalship and sportsmanship. That's a part of the judge's criteria. So you know you have to hug me back. And everything inside you hate it. You hate that you're doing this to yourself. And I say, okay, baby, have a good fight. As if I'm not even fighting you. And then I go back to my dressing room and I wait for my music to come on. And then my music is the national anthem. It's a terrible song. Not only is it a terrible song, it ruins the mood of the room. And then everyone has to stop what they're doing, stand up, and look at me. Now, you've asked the question about the fight. It's not about the fight, because before the bell rung, I'm in this guy's head so much that he's not even worried about his fighting style or the fight.
He's worried about you.
And to me, he's worried about me. And me, I'm not worried about me. This is what I do all the time. So that's how I would handle that situation. Because even if he's a 5% less of a fighter, that's a 5% advantage for me.
I noticed in the fights you've won, you strike a pose. Every time the ref raises your hand. when did that start? There's certain posts that you strike whenever the referee raises your hand in victory. When did that start?
That started in the very, very beginning, my first couple fights. I did it to show, because when I got into boxing, I was chubby, I was overweight, I was anxiety, I wasn't confident. And to me, you have to be this big, strong person to box. And then I was around it enough to realize, oh, you just have to be smarter than everyone else. You don't even have to be tough. To show how little toughness you need in boxing, I'm gonna do it in the most goofy way possible. And I'm gonna do smiles and a thumbs up. And I'm gonna show that boxers can be fun, boxers can be goofy, and it's not that serious. Chill out. So all the antics that I do, the flipping in the ring, the thumbs up, the kicking the corner post, all that's just to show this is just a game. This is fun. If you discipline yourself, you can accomplish anything. And it doesn't have to be that serious. Like when people think about being disciplined, they think of like, oh, it's not fun, I'm punishing myself. No, it's not punishing yourself, you're investing in yourself. And you can have fun while you're doing it. So all the thumbs up, that is just to show people like, you can have a good time while still being disciplined.
Anyone, Cam, anyone in the pro ranks or amateur ranks whose career you're following or who has the same style as you?
I wouldn't really say my style, but there's a few people I'm following. I'm following Marlena Esparza. She's one of my best friends. Franchon Cruz. She's also another one of my really good friends. I follow their careers because we text all the time and I love them. Robert Brandt, he just lost a tough fight, but I follow his career. I follow the people that I know personally and I love. Shakur Stevenson, all of the former Olympians. I follow them on social media and I follow their career because I think it's so cool. I've never really saw myself as a boxer. I thought it was always cool that I got to hang out with boxers because I never thought of myself as a boxer. So the fact that I was on the team with guys like Errol Spence was my roommate. That's another person I was following. Errol Spence was my roommate for a couple of years. And the fact that I know him, I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. He's my friend. So those are the guys I follow, and I follow them because I love them. I don't follow them for the boxing.
And what are your thoughts about, and I asked this yesterday because our guest yesterday was also a boxer, and I want to get your thoughts on this. What's your view on boxers fighting YouTubers?
Oh, I'm all about it. I am all about it. At the end of the day, you know what we're boxing for? Okay, here's the thing. You guys are talking about, I don't know if this is monetized. Is this monetized, a show? Like you have
No.
ads or anything? Okay,
No.
A lot of people do, they do boxing shows, they monetize it, right? Because everything we do, it's for money. People don't box, people box to get out of the situation they're in. Okay, I am one of the very rare examples of someone who actually I did box because I use boxing as a platform to get me into the speaking world and do other things. People box to get out of themselves out of the situation. They do it for money. The reason why I don't really care to turn pro, even for 1 or 2 fights here and there, is because there's so much politics involved, because there's so much money involved. Boxing it's one of the most dirty, backstabbing, contractual games out there. And the reason these young boxers come into just innocent boxers, they come in with all the heart and they sacrifice their time and their energy and their health and their life for boxing. And they show up with nothing but talent. But guess what? Everyone has talent. Boxing is oversaturated with talent. So they don't have a value. So you turn pro, you might get a little signing bonus, but you still have to sign a contract and follow rules. Now, what Jake Paul and the other one, Logan Paul,
Brother, yeah.
with the Paul, the brothers,
Yes.
what they did is they showed us a hack. They showed us if you show up with value, because everyone has talent, so talent isn't value anymore. Cool, everyone has talent. It's valueless. Talent is valueless right now. Everyone has it. But if you show up with something that is valuable, you can call some shots. And what is valuable? Valuable is dollars. How do you get dollars? Eyes, viewers. These Paul brothers showed up with their own audience. So they get to have pay-per-view and they get to call the shots. They don't have to sign contracts. They get to do what they want. So what I love it, because what I see is I saw someone who did something the right way. I can see it and I can hate on it. But is he taking dollars out of my pockets? No. He took years to build an audience, and then he leveraged that audience in the boxing world. The same way I'm leveraging my boxing skills in the speaking world. He's doing that in the boxing world. And what that should show boxers is, yes, the amateurs, that's when you make mistakes. That's when you can fight anyone because your record doesn't matter. But what you should also be doing as an amateurs is building your brand, growing your following, selling merch, posting videos online, making content, making people care. Because if you have an audience and you go to sign a pro contract, you're not, if you signed a pro contract as someone with 3,000 Instagram followers, you don't have a lot of leverage. But if you had 3.4 million followers on Instagram, do you think your contract would look a little different?
Yeah, definitely.
But what we did, our generation, we didn't know any better. What we did is we focused on talent.
Yeah.
But we didn't focus on anything else. And Jake Paul showed up, and with his audience, he has made more money than I have in boxing. And I have more national championships than anyone else. Now, I can see that and I can hate on it, or I can respect another brother for making some money. Because this boxing game is just about money. And I'm not going to act like it's not about money because someone's making more money.
And Cam, correct me if I'm wrong, but well, two things. I think the world governing body for boxing, I think they decided to remove headgear in amateur boxing. I want to get your thoughts on that. And also professionals fighting or boxing in the Olympics.
I would say, as far as the headgear, I have mixed feelings on the headgear. One, because when we fight 5 times in a row, we fight 5 days in a row. Like in 2016, the USA Olympic trials, the first day of the tournament, I got my eye split open. First day of the tournament. Because fighting with
Yeah,
no
you
headgear.
suffered a cut, a really nasty cut. Yeah.
They stitched me up, and I had to fight the next day. This is what happens when you fight without headgear, because you have headbutts, and you're fighting 5 days in a row. It's bound to happen. So if I would have got cut and I couldn't compete, the doctor told me after they stitched me up, so, well, you have 4 more fights for the week. Don't get hit. Because if I got hit, that cut would open up during the fight, and my Olympic dreams would be over. So in my mind, not wearing a headgear, I can risk everything for a simple cut, and then let a guy that I can easily beat win because I just can't compete. That's not fair. But also, I look damn good in those photos without a headgear on. So then you like that aspect of it, like pictures and all that. And it's more of an adrenaline rush, I feel like, when there is more danger. And to be honest, there's a balance, because there has been lives lost. And I will not pretend that that's not a thing. But the reason why I enjoy boxing is the danger. So I'm drawn to it because of the danger. It's like American football. Like, you can't tackle too hard anymore. So the sport just kind of loses a little bit of the flair. still the sport, you still love it, but still lose a little bit of the flair. And the reason why I box is I box because of the danger. And I enjoy fighting without the headgear, but there is consequences. So whatever they decide to do, I'll support pretty much. I don't care. Here, actually, that brings me to my answer. I don't care. I think there's so much in this world that we pretend to care about. I don't give a shit about a lot of things. And I think if you stop caring about things, you can start caring about things that do matter. Like headgear, no headgear, there's gonna be arguments about it. Mask, no mask, go outside, don't go outside. Whatever it is, people, there's always gonna be battles. But I think you should make a decision of what you like in your head, but also accept the other way may happen. So as good as I look in a photo, like punching someone without a headgear on so you can actually see my face, and it looks good on Instagram, but also you have the consequence of being cut on the first day of a tournament. So everything's about give and take, right?
And professionals fighting in the Olympics.
Professionals fighting in the Olympics. Here's the thing. All you have to do to be professional is sign a piece of paper. People tend to forget that. I have over 400 fights. I'm better than most professionals. I haven't signed the paper, so I'm still amateur. Doesn't mean anything. There are guys who have 3 or 4 amateur fights, turn pro, and people would say, well, that guy, he's a professional fighter. He must be better than you. And there's nothing I can say because the word professional is by his name. So yeah, professional fighters can fight in the amateurs, but I would put if you take the Olympic gold from each 2020 Olympics, you take each gold medalist and you put them up against the world champion of each in each weight class
division. Yeah,
it will be competitive. It will be competitive, especially if you're fighting 3-minute rounds. It will be very competitive. These Olympic boxers, we are at a high level, guys. Like, we don't get the respect because sometimes we fight with headgear, but this is high level competition. And yes, pros can come. Ain't nobody afraid of pros. I'm not afraid of a pro, especially 3-minute rounds. I'm not worried about pros. One thing I will say is in the United States, we have an amateur boxing program. We have a very strong amateur boxing program. And that program, our grassroots program, that's where our boxers come from. So you fight in the amateurs, you get a lot of experience, high level experience, you fight in national championships, you go to the Olympics, and then you turn professional. Now, there's so many programs that exist because of amateur boxing. Programs that got me into boxing. Those free gyms that I spoke about in the very beginning, those boxing gyms exist only because there's kids who dreaming to go to the Olympics. And that gets so many kids, they don't go to the Olympics, but it gets them on the right path. Now, if you allow boxers to just turn pro, those kids won't aspire to go to the Olympics. And then we would lose that program. So I'm not afraid of professional boxers coming into the amateur boxing program. They're not gonna win. They haven't been training in our style. I'm very confident in my 3-minute rounds. Now, 12 3-minute rounds, no, they take me into deep water. I don't have that experience. I can gain it, but these 3-minute rounds, this is mine. So it's not that I fear the boxers coming in. It's just that I fear our amateur boxing program collapsing and then our youth not have somewhere to go.
You mentioned that you were roommates with Errol Spence. Care to make another fearless forecast on a Pacquiao fight?
Being that they're both left-handers, he was my roommate. I'm going with Errol. See, I'm not emotionally invested in Mayweather at all. But Errol Spence, I love the guy. He's his boxing act. I've been in the ring with a lot of people. And I hop in the ring with him and I've sparred with him a couple rounds, nothing big. And of course, I'm 70 pounds heavier. But that dude his boxing IQ He's so smart. He doesn't waste any movements. I thought I can get him with my awkward stuff. Nope, none of that works for Errol Spence. That dude is the truth. I'm a fan of his. And on top of that, he could have hurt me. Like him throwing punches when we were sparring, I was 70 pounds heavier than him, so he's not going to hurt me. But if we were the same size, that dude, he's smart and he's powerful. Like, remember Fight Night? You guys used to play Fight Night, like the boxing video games? Like, you create a player, he's equal on everything. He's like one of the most well-rounded boxers out there. And I don't want to sound like a too much of a stan, but yeah, I'm an Errol Spence fan. Sorry.
And this despite the car accident he suffered. Was it last year or a few years ago?
Yeah, he's fought since then. And he didn't fight a chump. So if anything, like that should show the type of person he is. So, I mean, there's always stuff you can talk about fighters. You can say negative things about fighters, but very rarely do you see someone get put in a position where they have to bounce back publicly with everyone. There's all these rumors of what happened, what didn't happen, what's going on. And when he does show up, he's like, hey, I want to take a big fight, no warm-ups. And then does it like a gangster. How could you not respect that? Like, you can talk a lot of mess about people ducking people and doing all this. If you're going to call yourself the truth, you got to live it. And that dude is living it. So I'm a fan.
All right, Brian.
Actually, there was someone unhappy with your selection.
What? Which selection? Oh.
Anyway, it's okay. Coach Chris is really a comedian. Coach Chris has he has been active on the chat box. And Rika's seen it already. He has well, some of the questions were already answered. But he has a couple of questions like here's one. As a guy who trained 12 years to get to the Olympics to represent the USA, what do you think about the latest controversy where a woman smoked weed and was punished, and a third place woman disrespected the clan?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to answer this one carefully because this is a loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to not give my view on drugs because no one wants to have the real talk. The same way that, Rika, that I talked about, like, you're a female boxer and you should be grateful that just, if we actually broke it down to the root of the problem, it's that we socialize young boys to go towards boxing and we socialize young girls to go towards domestic cooking and cleaning and things of that sort. But if we didn't do that, boxing would be 50-50. Now, if you look at like marijuana use, if you want to actually talk about marijuana use and why first of all, it's supposed to have these medical benefits in some states in the United States, but some places in the United States, it's an evil drug that you should be locked away and put in jail for. And then some states, it will help you if you get seizures or if you have cancer. And then some states, you're going to be an addict and steal out of your mom's purse or sell the couch. And there's all these manipulative lies around marijuana use. I am not anti-marijuana use at all. If anything, I'm anti-alcohol use. I'm less for alcohol than I am for marijuana. As a performance enhancer, I can't speak on that. I don't know. They say I'm not a scientist, but I would say, is there a reason for you? Is there a benefit to having marijuana in your system? Or is this because marijuana is illegal? Because what is it? Are we going to pretend? Because I would love to see a survey of everyone who's against this. Ask them if they've ever smoked weed before. I don't know how legal weed is. How legal is weed over there?
No, it's not legal.
Very
It's not
illegal.
It's very,
Very illegal, Cam.
Very illegal.
Let me tell you about here. So I was living in Portland, and in all these, you can go into a store and it's lit, there's glass cases, you pay with a credit card, you can buy weed. Weed is very legal here. You can smoke out in the public. People eat edibles. There are commercials on TV. They sponsor events. Like Mike Tyson's whole thing is smoking weed. Like, weed is so destigmatized. It's no longer a thing. And it's an arbitrary rule that doesn't really make any sense. Now, if we want to talk about other things that don't make sense, in 2012, I was suspended and kicked off the Olympic team by the World Drug Administration, WADA and USADA, for failing to meet drug test requirements. And what that means is I didn't fill out the paperwork.
You didn't email?
I didn't send in an email. That's what it meant. Now,
Yes.
now I got 2 years. Well, sorry, I got a year. It was 2 years. I got it repealed down to a year. So I got a whole year suspension for not sending in an email. And then this beautiful queen, this magnificent athlete, smokes pot and cannot compete in the Olympics she's suspended for 30 days. So you have something in your system, you get 30 days. You don't send an email, you get 2 years, or you get a year. Now, this is just to show you none of it really makes sense. They need to revamp the whole system and make some changes. Now, the whereabout failure, I understand. That was my job. I was supposed to send in that email. But obviously, if you smoke weed and you realize that weed has personal benefits to you, because we know a lot of people who, after a hard day of work, they have a beer, right? You have a shot of vodka, you go out with your friends to relieve stress. Well, if you had a hard day at work, or a hard day working out, or a hard day training, and you have anxiety, or you need to relieve your anxiety, why are we condemning you for smoking some weed? Now, if it is found that if there's benefits to having marijuana in your system, and it is actually a performance enhancing drug, yeah, I'm not for that. But if it ain't, let shorty smoke. Like, it's silly. It is completely silly. But I do believe in fairness for all athletes. So if there are athletes who are like, if we could have all smoked, because there are other athletes who are like, if we could have all smoked weed, like, we would have, but we decided we withheld and didn't smoke. So, like, we shouldn't be punished as well. So I think there should be, they should, actually, now that I said that out loud, if there's some athletes who do smoke weed and they didn't smoke weed because of the competition and they wanted to, but sacrificed and didn't. Also, she's so fast. She's so cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very biased on this one, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Yeah, I do think they should take a look at that rule. And like the NFL, I think the NFL and the NBA are no longer checking for marijuana in your system as well. Let the athletes smoke. But also, here's what I think. They should fix the rule to let athletes smoke. But until then, I guess athletes can't smoke. I think that's what the rule should be. I think it's a silly rule, but I think for the fairness of all athletes, you have to follow the rules. And I'm saying that as someone who was suspended and kicked off the Olympic team. Like, I get it, you have to follow the rules.
Well, Coach Chris has a good question to that. Answer to that. When I have a hard day, I don't smoke weed. I just look at Baby Dynamite's Facebook page.
Does that relax you, Coach Chris? I hope it relaxes you.
All right. Another question. Another win for Coach Chris. Mike Tyson was pretty tough. I think he thinks you would have knocked him to the moon.
I would have knocked Mike Tyson to the moon.
That's what Coach Chris said.
Coach Chris, thank you. I would say give me another 30 years. Mike Tyson will be 80, and I think I might have a chance by then. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with that one. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I see I have such an immense respect for the guys who have gone through hell and back in the boxing ring. Manny Pacquiao being one of them. Like, I hate even going for Errol Spence because it has to be against Manny Pacquiao. But I'm not rooting against Manny Pacquiao. I would never do that. I'm just rooting for Errol Spence. Because like there's some guys like Mike Tyson has been relevant for like 4 decades. How? Like, yeah, that guy is great. And yeah, I'm a
He's
fan.
really great. Yeah, he evolves.
Yeah.
He's evolving, and what I love most about him is he's in touch with his emotional side. Like,
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
and the same thing of like the reason why I thought like I didn't like that boxers all had to be tough, and I do the goofy thumbs up because I want to show like you don't have to be tough. You don't have to act tough. You can smile, you can be happy, you can be emotional, you can be sad, you can have other emotions besides pissed off. And I love that, like that Mike Tyson is showing that.
All right, I'll pick up from that Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao thing. Manny Pacquiao is already 42 years old. I mean, you should know that there's a certain age that we can fight or do anything in sports. What's your take on that? At this age, do you think he still has what it takes?
How old is he?
42. 42.
And how old was Bernard Hopkins?
Bernard Hopkins. Wait, I'm not
He
sure.
fought in his mid-40s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He fought at 51.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
51.
And he was dominating.
Mm-hmm.
And when in the beginning, when I said we were trained to think like after 25, it's a little bit downhill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 32. I'm the strongest I've ever been.
Mhm.
We have science.
Uh-huh.
And if you have the resources to take care of yourself, Manny Pacquiao was not 42.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might be 42 years old, but
Mhm.
think about when you were 10 years old. Remember what 42-year-olds look like? They don't look like that anymore. Like, look at J-Lo. She's 50. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
we're not aging the same.
Mhm.
If you take care of your body,
Yeah.
I will say, because that's the important part. And a lot of people wait until they're 50
Yeah.
and then start trying to take care of their body. I started when I was 22. So when I started eating vegan, I started doing the plant-based, I started taking care of myself. I exfoliate, I take care of my skin, I do all of that. Why? Because I'm not waiting until I'm old, until I start taking care of myself. And Manny Pacquiao I haven't seen a picture of him overweight in my life.
Yeah.
He has been taking care of his body. That man is a machine. So yeah, someone might say he's 42, but he ain't no 42.
But like you said, he has a lot of things. Like now, there's talk going around. He's gonna run for the presidency here in the country.
Really?
Yeah, there's that talk.
And that's why I like him better. Like, not even as a boxer. Like, we're talking about him fighting a real up and like not even up and comer, a champion. He's fighting Errol Spence, and he's also trying to be president. Like, to me, as I said in the beginning, I like that boxing is something that I also do. The fact that boxing is something he also does, and he is one of the best to who have ever done it. And while the thing that he's the best and it's the thing on his back burner, he's like also singing and running for the president. Like, I think he's so amazing.
All right. All right. Okay. I hope you don't
He's a
mind.
singer too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
Okay, Cam, don't hate me for this, but I went through your Twitter. I love what you've been putting. I love the quotes. But there are some quotes I'm very curious. Like this
Ooh,
one.
this is gonna be good.
Yep. This one you made in May 26. It says a
So
guy
what
that
year?
this is me.
Okay, yeah. Old Cam. I had a lot of different views. I've grown as a person.
All right. Okay.
Accountability culture.
All right. I think this has something to do with what Vince asked earlier. A guy that isn't an actual boxer is making loads of money off boxing, and it's delegitimizing the art of the sport. What was that about?
Can you read the rest?
Fans of Rocky with no sense of irony. It's a response to Reverend Winston.
I quoted, that was my quote, and said, fans of Rocky.
Okay.
So people who've watched the movie Rocky,
Mm-hmm.
right? They love, I've never watched a Rocky movie. I'm completely against Rocky movies. I don't like it. Now, people love Rocky so much because Sylvester Stallone
Yeah.
is someone who came into the boxing world with not as a boxer, no boxing experience at all. And if you watch any clips in those movies, they're not actually practicing real boxing because a guy will get hit, go to the ground, get up, keep fighting. There's no 8 count. Rep doesn't watch the gloves. He's literally just milking the sport and has made millions and hundreds of millions of dollars off of the sport of boxing and has not really given anything back to the sport. People who love Rocky will also find the fact that Jake Paul is a bad thing for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not see any irony? A guy, Rocky is Sylvester Stallone, a guy who has nothing to do with boxing, making money off boxing. Jake Paul, a guy who has nothing to do with boxing, making money off boxing. And that was just a post of irony,
Right.
just to show the Jake Paul situation making money off boxing is no different than Rocky making money off boxing. And if you hate Jake Paul, you should hate Rocky too.
Okay, so that clears it. And the other tweet you just made an hour ago, boxers knocking out an inexperienced guy in sparring isn't impressive at all. Yes, sometimes it's necessary to put a little extra pressure to teach a clown a lesson, but it shouldn't be put on social media. That's tasteless. What was that all about?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos people post where they're boxers. They might have some fights and have some experience and they're training. And, you know, there's always clowns that come into the gym and pretend to be tough. And they're like, oh, I've had all these street fights. I can beat your ass. Like, those guys exist everywhere.
Okay.
Inviting that guy into the ring to spar and knocking him out so you can post a picture on social media, post a video on social media to show how badass you are, that's not a good look.
Yep.
Knocking out someone without any experience, that doesn't show me that you're a good boxer. Like, show me you getting in there with that boxer and teaching them. Like, I will say, and I did put in there, sometimes it's necessary to apply a little bit of pressure to show a clown. But like, if that guy is acting like he's so tough, of course, if you get him in the ring, hit him with a shot to the body, just to sit him down, to let him know, like, this isn't a game.
Yeah.
But trying to knock him unconscious and posting the video like that's too, don't post it online. It doesn't look good. It looks trashy. And then people have this violent idea of the sport of boxing, and it shouldn't be like that. It's tasteless. Also, if you're sparring someone, don't post a video of your sparring unless you have consent from your sparring partner. Like, there are guys who, sparring is where you train and you try things out.
Yep.
Like, in fights, I don't get hit, but in sparring, I get hit a lot because I'm trying things out.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I practice.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you posting videos of me getting slammed with an overhand right, trying to loop an uppercut for the first time? Like, that's where I'm practicing. Then you just expose me as like someone, like, you make me look like a loser in a 15-second clip so you can make yourself look good. Like, I'm sparring you to help you become better as you're helping me become better. Don't post those videos online. Come on. So I just think it's important that people are reminded, like, you don't get clout from knocking out a guy who isn't experienced.
That's true. Well, aside from that, I'm encouraging the viewers, even Vince and Rika, please do follow Cam.
I will, yeah.
Because I love the things that you're
I already
posting
have.
there. It's very, very inspirational and a lot of good things you can get out of it. Okay. My last question for Cam. What's your take on Tyson Fury?
Oh, okay. First of all, go America, all America. Yes, 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 America. With that out of the way, I saw a video clip years ago of this idiot, or this guy, I didn't know anything about him, people were just saying this idiot was doing this interview, and like the video, I remember the clip was like, idiot does press conference or whatever. And I saw this man come out in a Batman costume,
Mm-hmm.
a full Batman. I believe it was a Klitschko fight
Yeah.
or full Batman costume. And this is where you would think, I remember thinking, I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. The press conference is where you promote yourself. You want the world to see your face. You want to share your message. You come out as Batman? Batman? Are you shitting me? Like, immediately he became my favorite boxer before I even saw him throw a punch. Like, to me, the fact that because remember, my thing is, I want people to show that boxing isn't that, you don't have to be that tough. You can have fun and do it. When I saw him come out in a Batman costume, I was like, well, he's my favorite heavyweight boxer of all time. And he might be on my list above me when I saw him come out in the Batman outfit. So I have been a fan of him ever since. And the fact that he's dealt with drug addiction, the fact that he's dealt with depression, the fact that he's dealing with things and he's using boxing as a platform to talk about those things. He talks a lot of shit, but it's never about boxing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who he is. He's just that, and I love his personality, and I love that he's awkward. I love that I love his confidence. I love his sincerity, and I love his story of being the Gypsy King and being that guy who everyone looks at as the champion, as the real Rocky story of his people get to see him in that spotlight, because no one gets to see their people on that type of stage. Look at your country, what Manny Pacquiao has done for your country. Like, he's doing that for a group of people, and he's not even doing that for a group of people. He's doing that for the depressed people all over the globe. And how can you root against that?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Cam. Okay, Rika.
Yeah, well, first of all, you mentioned Marlene Esparza, right? She's amazing. I love her. She gave birth, right? Just and then she fought, and like, I don't know, like after a few months, she got,
It was like 7 months or something.
yeah, that was amazing. That's she's really reinventing a lot of things, and she's in the best shape of her life now. She's and she won recently.
Yeah, it's one last weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Anyway, I want to talk about well, speaking of Tyson Fury, I want to talk about how we as boxers and in the boxing world, how we talk about mental health. How do you think is the boxing world handling mental health, especially now that a lot of boxers are coming out, like Ryan Garcia is coming out, getting off of a fight because he's handling his mental health issues and stuff.
Oh, I have a simple answer to that. We've been dealing with mental health issues for a very long time. It was just no one cared before.
Yeah.
Athletes have always. Do you think, like Mike Tyson, he was going through so much? Do you think everyone stopped to ask him how he was doing?
He was
No, what
friends
they do is
with birds.
Huh? Yeah,
He has friends as
was just-
birds.
Yeah, and what he does is he uses that as therapy. But athletes have always dealt with mental health issues. It's the public that finally cares now. I love the fact that Ryan Garcia was able to say it was for mental health, and people respected that.
Yeah.
Because who knows, back in the past, they could have said, "Oh, it was an injury," or
Yeah.
he's going through something, or like they have different reasons why fights are postponed, because they can never give the actual reason. It might be mental health related. Because think about if let's say the Tyson Fury fight, let's say Tyson Fury, God forbid, has like a mental health breakdown or something. Let's say, Tyson Holyfield. Let's say Tyson said, let's say Holyfield said that he had a mental health issue and he needed to postpone the fight. Back in the 90s, how do you think people would have responded to that? His career would have been over.
Yeah.
Because no one cares about your mental health. You go do your job. You go punch. You're an athlete. Go play your game. Go throw the ball. And when you're done with that, we might care about something else.
Mhm.
But now with social media, people are getting to see that athletes are human beings too.
Mhm.
Athletes mess up. Yes, Queen just got popped with marijuana in her system. She said, "I'm human. I just happen to be faster than most." And I thought that was a powerful statement because yes, we are all human. Like Rika, you deal with stuff and you have to deal with stuff at home, but guess what? You still have to make weight. So I don't care that someone passed away in your family 3 weeks before the fight. You know, in 3 weeks you got to fight. So guess what? You can't binge eat because you're sad. Like those are the things that no one thinks about until now. Now that athletes get to share their story, it's not just what's published in the ESPN magazine. They get to share their own personal truths. We actually care about them. So then when Ryan Garcia says he has a mental health issue, I love the fact that he said it because he didn't have to be honest. He could have said COVID. He could have said a broken bone. He could have said an injury. I love the fact that he was honest with that because that's the reason why I love Tyson Fury, because the boxers who are able to talk about it, because we're all tough, right? All of us boxers are tough. So toughness is oversaturated, just like skill is oversaturated. To me, what makes a difference is your heart. What do you care about? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Even Ricky Hatton, right? He came out and he shared a story of how he was almost suicidal after that Pacquiao fight, right? That's a powerful thing to share. Also, speaking of social media, what do you think about fighters getting it out on Twitter? Like, for example, our lightweights, the four horsemen, just like trading Twitter things. What do you think about that?
I'm all for the smoke. I'm all for the smoke. Listen, give it to me wherever I can get it. Because again, remember, Rika, I'm sure you know girls that you've sparred who maybe girls are so good who have never had the right opportunities and who have never gotten a chance, and just maybe they had a baby at the wrong time, or maybe that their promoter screwed them over, but you know those fighters and they just didn't have the opportunity. And what that opportunity was a platform.
Mm-hmm.
If you have Twitter, you have a platform, use that platform.
Yeah.
Like use it to your ability. Because again, in the beginning, when I talked about this, all of this is about money. The pro stuff, the Olympic stuff, that was, I wanted to travel, but the pro stuff, that's about money.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Paul, he's here making money. I'm not mad at him because he's doing what he came to do. He came to make money. I don't care about anybody's feelings. I don't care if anybody's butthurt because someone else is making money. So if you can use your platform to build your following and grow your following the way that Jake Paul did his, so you can leverage yourself. Because again, if you had 3,000 Twitter, Instagram followers, not a lot of sponsorship opportunities. So you might fight and someone might put their logo on your trunks. But if you have 3 million followers on Instagram, because you're talking trash online and you're active online and you're always giving people content and people are remembering you, and every time you keep coming up in conversation and you're always trending, so you're more valuable and you're growing your following and you're making more money. So when that contract comes, guess what? You're worth something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, give the smoke on Twitter.
Yeah. And related to that, actually, so Jake Paul and Logan Paul, a lot of people, and especially boxers, say
Actually,
that.
before you even ask that question, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, it's okay.
I just wanted to show the power of Jake and Logan Paul, because we have said their name more times than we have said Manny Pacquiao's name. Okay, so
right.
Are they talented? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Clap it up for them. They are relevant. We are literally talking about them. We're talking about how stupid they are and how they're doing, and we're hating on them. And the more we hate, the more money they make. And I love it. I love it because it works for all of us, not just them. See what someone is doing and take the formula. The reason why Marlon Esparza and I became best friends is because she was the first boxer to make money. Like she was on like Nike commercials and McDonald's commercials and Telemundo commercials, and people used to hate on her.
Mhm.
And I didn't really talk to her. We didn't talk. And one year we were on the same team together. And I was like, hey, you're doing something that no one else is doing.
Mhm.
Can you tell me how? And she's like, yeah, no one's ever asked.
Mhm.
And she put me on game, and she taught me about how to carry. She taught me about building a website, promo kits. She taught me about how to get sponsorships. She taught me how to build a brand.
Mhm.
Why? Because I asked. Instead of hating from a distance,
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, I don't know this, so can you tell me?
Mhm.
So instead of hating, I think you should see what someone's doing, and don't try to reinvent the wheel. See what they're doing, and swag a jacket. Like, do what they're doing if it's working.
Yeah. Hustle your own way into it.
Hustle your own way. I love it.
Right. Yeah. And also, actually, a lot of boxers and even fans say that Jake Paul and Logan Paul takes away or disrespects boxing. So there's this word respect that maybe people are like, I don't know what do you how do you understand that word? Well, we're both boxers, but what is that respect that they are talking about? Because we all know what's happening behind the scenes. I don't see a lot of respect back there. So what is that respect that they're talking about?
Uh, Respect. It's how they spell hate. Again,
That's
they're
that's
just
that's
hating
a
on
great.
what. Because if you want to talk about respect, let's talk about the game of boxing. Let's talk about the fact
Yeah,
that you have to be 15-0 with 13
yeah,
knockouts to even be considered a contender for most in most cases. So you literally, your first 10 fights are for your highlight reel. You literally fight people that you know you're better than, you're more experienced than. Sometimes a guy will fight the same opponent 3 times just to build that record. Now, how respectful is that to the sport? There are guys who pay, they take money out of their own purse to pay their opponent.
I did
We
that.
know this. That's what you had to do,
Yeah,
because but Rika, is that the respectful game of boxing that forced you to do that?
I don't know. I just wanted to fight, and that's what they said I had to do, so I did it.
And that's the game of boxing. It's manipulative. It's all about money. It's about conning. It's about spreading dollars, because the more fights you have before you make it big, the more fights a promoter gets to promote,
Yeah.
the
You
more
know,
money other people make.
you know what, Cam? You know what they told me? I have to pay to get an opponent because I'm not profitable.
Oh,
Because
so it's about money.
no, because no one really watches female boxers, and
Yeah.
they don't get money out of us. So if I want to fight, I have to pay my way through it.
So obviously it's not about the love of the sport. Even that you, a professional boxer who dedicated your life to sport, you have to pay to play, because this is about money.
Yeah.
But the second that Jake Paul comes in and starts to make money, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. What about the respect?
I know. That's great. Thank you for defining that for me, because I've been puzzled for a long time about that word. I'm like, am I missing something here? Am I not
No,
seeing
you're right.
anything? Thank you, Kat. Okay, Vince.
At the end of the documentary, I saw a postscript saying that U.S. boxers won only one silver and one bronze in the 2016 Olympics, and it made it look as if no, because I remember the rivalry between the U.S. and the Cubans, between Cuba when it came to boxing, and I remember the U.S. dominating, winning most of the gold medals in Olympic boxing, and maybe you can share your thoughts on why suddenly is it because more boxers are turning pro? What's the deal?
So that's the issue is other countries have funding for their boxing programs. So in, let's say, the Great Britain team, they make money. The Irish team, they make money. So their boxers, they turn 18, they join the team, they do the 2012 Olympics, they do the 2016 Olympics, they do that 2020 Olympics. So when like so perfect example, 2016 Olympics, you have boxers who are fighting their third or fourth Olympics because they're in their 30s, right? And they have all this experience. And they can do that because they don't have to worry about money, worry about food, worry about working. But in America, we don't have that. So our boxers are 18, 19 years old. Shakur Stevenson was 19 when he fought in his gold medal match. Now, imagine if he were in a system to where he sticks around for 3 or 4 more Olympics. If we had our Olympians, if we had boxers who were experienced, who stuck around for multiple Olympics, we would have all of the gold medals easily. It wouldn't even be a competition. No other country could compete with the US. We have the talent. And not only do we have the talent, like just spatially, geographically, there's so many of us. There's so many of us, and we have the resources here. Like what I'm impressed is like when a country like the Philippines, when you guys produce like quality, like such quality boxers with, there's not that many people in comparison. So I'm just like, if we had our amateur program here where boxers stuck around the amateurs for 15 years, and we had boxers who were around for 15 years, fighting boxers who were around for 15 years, and the winner of that got to fight the winner of the Philippines, yeah, I'm gonna bet on America. But what we have is we have guys who turn pro at 18 because they don't have money. They have kids, like they have jobs, they have bills. So why stick around for the Olympics and then you might not even go, or you turn pro and you might make some money.
All right. Cam, we still have a few minutes. We'd like you to say your final words for our viewers.
Thanks everyone for having me. If anyone has any questions, you can follow me on social media. Yeah, I find out something about someone. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have many final words.
All right. Brian?
Well, I'll take Cam up on his offer.
All right.
I have a lot of more questions, but it's not really related about boxing. But maybe for some other time. But I love your
Slide in my
posts.
DMs, man.
Yep, I love the things that you're doing on social media. I'll definitely get in touch with you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Rika?
Me too. I have a boxing show too.
Yep.
If you're available to be a guest, that would be awesome.
My DMs are open.
Yes, and thank you for sharing your story. It's amazing. I also have a lot of questions. We have a lot of questions. So,
We'll have time. We'll have time.
yes. So this is such an amazing interview. Thank you, Vince, for
Thank you, Vince.
You're
inviting
welcome.
me.
Thanks, Vince.
Inviting
You're
me
welcome.
for a guest to be a guest host, and thank you, Direct Brian, for being a direct as always.
Cam, don't ask why they call me direct, please.
It's good, right? It suits him, right? And also
Straight to it.
to our viewers, thank you for watching, and please follow my Facebook, Rika Baby Dynamite Aquino, and that's it.
And thank you, Coach Chris. Thank you for your questions, Coach Chris.
Coach Chris. Hi, Coach Chris.
All right.
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Cam, thanks so much for your time, and good luck with the motivational speaking gig.
Yep.
Continue preaching the gospel of anti-bullying.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks
Will
for
do,
your
will
time.
do. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
Oh, good night.
See, good morning there.